In November 2011, Mojang released the first official Minecraft update, and the popularity gain cascaded over to a decade's worth of new updates which are packed with so much content. And today I will be explaining every minuscule detail I hate individually about each update. Enjoy. For some context, I won't be going any version that's before 1.0 because I'm not going to call it official Minecraft, and trust me, after watching this video, you will thank me I didn't dive into it. I'm also going to assume you know all the features I'm going to mention. This doesn't go over every feature from every update, only the features I like making comments about, because they were the only one I could make comments about, but just so you know, they all suck too. The first official update, version 1.0, started huge with a full-on lever switch to start it up, and the game came with a whole lot of new features. We'll put a counter up here just to start tallying up how many times I start complaining. Hardcore mode has made more people quit the game than Splitgate. I looked it up and most of the hardcore deaths came from creepers, so I'm assuming they rage quit and never touched the game again after that. Item repair made it so you could put 2 tools in your inventory's crafting table, and those 2 tools would add up both of their durability to be able to be combined into one singular tool. However, it just made the tools too easy to keep in the game. Brewing and chanting were also added in this update, and that just made a specific boss fight way too easy and practically a cakewalk. I'll put a timer up here, and here's how fast I can do it with potions and enchantments. Breeding animals sounds like a normal addition, but some people took advantage. Not the pigs, me. The end dimension was added, and it was home to the so-called final boss in the game. Again, it was too easy, but it's also really easy to fall off the island. The Mushroom Island is by far the most useless biome to ever exist. Please tell me what this is useful for. The Nether Fortress might seem like a great addition in the hell of Minecraft, but no matter how good you are, these blazes will still destroy you. Villagers were added in this update, and they added some extra life in the game so you felt like you weren't alone. But remember, during this update you couldn't trade with them, so they were just there staring at you. A decently small update a few months after 1.0 added some interesting things I wanted to address. Like adding super flat mode makes no sense because all of the slimes are just everywhere. And obviously everyone's playing this in survivor mode. Spawn eggs were added for the toddlers who wanted to spam them around. There's really not any other reason for people to use them. Only a couple months after 1.1, Mojang dropped an absolute banger. Zombie sieges were so random and so annoying for no reason. Desert wells were some of the most pointless structures ever. There was no loot, it was just water.
To be honest, no, it's not amazing. But you can break it and get sandstone.
Iron golems were just scary to my kid self back then. In August the same year, they definitely spiced things up around the sandbox game. Not saying it was good. Trading with villagers was such a scam back then. Look at this trade. Please tell me one person who uses adventure mode. The temples were actually kind of needed. I can't really say anything bad about them. Emeralds were put into the mountains, and at this time practically had no uses because trading was still a scam. Book and quills have no logical use, just use a Google Doc. Ender chests seemed too overpowered for something so easy to get. Only a couple minutes finding some obsidian, and at this point you probably already have blaze powder. If you're at the point where you need an ender chest in the first place, these should just be more expensive to craft. The first named update, the pretty scary update, added a lot new mobs and a few other bits. However, these mobs I got a whole lot to say about. The witches keep on poisoning me and spamming their health potions. I can't tell you how many times I've been at half a heart from the poison first playing this game. The bats do absolutely nothing, even though they add ambience to caves, but they should also drop something too. Zombie villagers just ruin my villager breeders all the time. I'm too lazy to use them to make my trades cheaper. You know there's a reason you're down here. And wither skeletons, besides giving bad items except for their head, which I won't need until later, it's just one more thing to destroy me in that fortress. And the wither effect is more annoying than the poison. The wither should be able to move outside of bedrock. Since it's considered a boss, it's just too easy for people trapping it in bedrock, like either in the nether roof or in the end. Giving it a phasing ability and just fight it like a man. The carrot on a stick seems cool when you get to ride a pig until you understand running is faster.
The most useful item I ever saw in craft mine. Pig.
The redstone update added most of everything to do with contraptions. However, I have my comments mostly because I'm dumb. Summing up all the redstone items is that it's just too complicated for me. In July of 2013, the horse update was probably one of the least filled with content, and the content added regardless has its flaws. Newly added horses just hate me. It will never let me tame them. Please love me faster. Who uses donkeys? They are so slow.
It's super slow and jumping ability sucky muchy.
Horse armor is only for looks because it's just as useless as a carrot on a stick. Name tags are an everyday use in this day and age, but if these creatures and animals were really special to you, you would know their name by heart. Blocks of coal actually have a valid reason to be useless besides decoration. You have to be smelting so many things at once for them to be a little helpful. If you're just smelting a couple things, then it's a huge waste of coal. The update that changed the world primarily focused on the newly added biomes, and there's no point in me reviewing every single one because they were necessary. The world was quite bland before, and it was needed, but it doesn't mean I still got stuff. Most of the new log types are ugly, specifically birch, I hate it. The amplified world type made everything so crazy that the mountains would stretch out so high, but it also made the world practically impossible to traverse without an elytra, but that's later on. Pufferfish is a negative food, and people do not need water breathing in 1.7. In 2014, the Bountiful update added a lot of variety and didn't exactly focus on a main point unlike the last update. Adding variety to the underground, the stone variants to this day are ugly and annoying to carry in my inventory. Sheep meat is just more random food we don't need. Rabbit food is more random food we don't need. Ocean monuments look pretty cool until you notice it's all that protection for a couple of sponges.
Oh, I knew there was sponge.
Only the 13-year-olds who want to cheat on their SMPs with their friends will use spectator mode. Guardians only guard sponges. And some gold, but that doesn't really help my point. Probably the most controversial update in the game is 1.9. The combat update balances a lot of the PvP aspects of the game, and you can probably guess what side of the controversy I'm on. The weapon speed changes are so dumb. No person who played in the update before wants to be waiting to swing again. The amount of work that goes into making tipped arrows is not worth the outcome it gives. The power enchantment is already enough. Shields are basically cheating. Creepers are no threat anymore.
And the block, and the strike, and the block.
Someone please tell me what lingering potions are useful for an everyday world. They add igloos, which are almost as useless as the desert well, except for the bed and the chance to find an underground portion. Again, it's just not very useful even if you do. End cities are probably the biggest part about this update. However, compared to the ancient cities, I've never been scared in an end city. I'm shivering in my clothes every single time I get the darkness effect because I'm scared I'm going to die. But the end cities just have shulkers, which give quite useful drops, but the problem comes with the loot. The loot that can be found in an end city is way better than the loot in an ancient city. So either the end city needs to have worse loot, or they need to give it a really scary feeling like I do in the ancient city. The elytra just adds to the problem of the end city being overpowered. The game becomes boring after because you basically just turned on half of creative mode right there. Features like horses are now useless, so there goes the 1.6 update. And then you can find more end cities which give you more overpowered loot, which give you more elytras, which give you more end cities, which give you more overpowered. The Frostburn update in June 2016 was focusing on improving the environment. There wasn't much added, but there's always something to say. Not really related to the environment, but auto jump is my least favorite feature in the whole game. The fact it's turned on by default is so much worse. I feel bad for the speedrunners who have to deal with magma blocks because they're just simple blockades for them to traverse through. Polar bears don't drop meat. A self-explanatory update focused on encouraging players to explore. Wonder why it didn't work. Cursed enchantments were added and were meant to add some sort of negative enchantments, although there weren't any situations where anyone was really annoyed over these. Either just don't die for the curse advantaging or die for binding. Woodland mansions were so hard to find, and they barely had any loot. You could say that we could get totems from there, but if you're at the point where you need to travel 1,000 blocks for a mansion, chances are you don't die that easily. The totem of undying itself just makes the game easier again. Why do iron nuggets exist? 1.12 was the only update released in 2017. The World of Color update was a very minuscule update compared to other updates later on. Let me get this straight. No one likes the narrator. Name one person who has this turned on. I've never learned how toolbars work in creative mode until now for this video. That should explain how much people do not use them. Me personally, I like parrots over dogs, although they can dance. Concrete is the new clay and the main part of the World of Color update, but they're just normal looking color blocks, but they're just harder to get than wool. Now over a year later, the aquatic update made a lot of people happy with the new swim mechanics. Not gonna lie, it was needed, but I can make a separate video on what we did need in the updates. Dolphin's Grace makes you pretty fast, although they frequently detach from you and you're better off just using a boat. Drown break my turtle legs too alongside zombies, but don't ask why I need them. Turtles are cool and all, but they probably make the worst helmet in the game for the effort it takes to make it. Phantoms are my second least favorite thing in Minecraft besides the auto jump.
And you can't fly, so they are at
No one even uses tridents for PvP, it's just transportation. We already have the overpowered elytras, so it's pretty much useless. Give me a 5-paragraph essay on why conduits exist. Shipwrecks just hand players the most free progression ever. That's now 10 minutes of mining turned into 15 seconds worth of iron and gold, and possibly diamonds if they go for the buried treasure. Now the Village and Pillage update added a lot, so there's actually quite a bit to cover. And I have a lot of very positive things to say. Why do we want to buy sea pickles and dead bushes from the wandering trader? Foxes do not stop running and they sometimes take my food. Pandas were a necessity. People only like fighting pillagers and raids to get totems. I also kind of die often to these too, and the evokers and those little mobs absolutely destroy me. Why do they do so much damage? They're so small. Most of the villagers have professions according to their useful block that activates it. Composters aren't useful, but they have a use. The fleshing table and smithing table are absolutely useless in this update. Pillager outposts are never something I want to find off of spawn. I might as well just start a new one. Crossbows take a while to shoot. They may have more damage than regular bows, but I'd rather convenience over power. Why does leather horse armor exist? I've already clowned on the other horse armor, now they make leather. The bee update, in my opinion, is probably the dumbest excuse for an update. There's barely anything here. There's bees, there's honey block. On the other hand, the nether update is absolutely huge. There's so much to say. So much neutral opinion. Piglins keep bothering me while I'm mining quartz, and always with the crossbows. Hoglins are just the more fat and annoying piglin. Piglin brutes just take things to a whole new level. I know I keep talking about the game being too easy, but these guys can actually go jump off a bridge. You can easily get stuck in a corner with 3 of these things just running at you with an axe. There's no cooldowns, by the way. They'll just kill you before you have the chance to do anything. Netherite as a whole should be rebalanced. I'd say it's decently challenging to get, but it's just barely better than diamond armor. I think a better way to get it is just so it's harder to obtain, but it's way better than diamond in its base form. Just make it limited to a chance so it's not overpowered. The warp fungus on a stick is basically just the same problem as the carrot on a stick. All these new biomes and I can't even traverse them without falling in lava or getting destroyed by 5 random hoglins. The respawn anchor lets you respawn where it's placed in the nether in case you died. However, if you're dying in the nether, chances are your stuff is already gone. People have brains, we don't really need a lodestone compass. These bastions are actually quite useful, but I can never find the gold blocks in the walls. How do speedrunners find them? The ruined portals are pretty balanced to find off spawn, but you think you can complete the portal, but you're always missing 1 obsidian or there's a crying obsidian in the way. In this update, they added a change to the compass where it can be enchanted with Curse of Vanishing in an anvil. Caves and Cliffs Part 1 more focuses on the caves part, but some things are dumb while the other things are just plain scary. There's absolutely no way people voted for the glow squid over the ice lodger. Isolodger. How do you say it? They shoot ice chunks with magic. You pick that over a glow squid? Adding these cute axolotls makes more pet opportunities, but I can't find the rare blue ones, so now I just hate them. I'm lucky I don't come across goats too often because they keep headbutting me. The ancient cities have a similar problem that I talked about before with the end cities. These things are just too hard for the loot they give. Diamond pants are the only armor piece it gives, and am I really risking my life and sanity for some diamond pants? In the ancient cities, the scariest mob can one-shot you in full netherite armor, but the warden doesn't drop anything of value for the difficulty it takes to kill. It was intended that you have to sneak past the warden and it's not meant to be killed. Then again, the loot at the ancient city isn't good or worth how scary it is, so maybe cancel it out by giving the warden a good drop and then we'll fix the problem. Amethyst doesn't really have any uses in this update. No one makes spyglasses because people can just zoom in. Bigger caves has its problems. Dripstone is just unnecessary damage taken. And there goes my food too. Me personally, I don't care enough to use copper, let alone wax it. And these underground biomes were needed for variety, but I'm still scared to go in the skulk biome. This is the second part of the Caves and Cliffs update, but it focuses more on the cliffs. I'll try to keep this one shorter. They made even larger caves, do I have to remind you? All these bigger mountain biomes just annoy me when I try to traverse them, except for the meadows, I don't mind those. They changed vein generation for ores, and specifically for diamonds, they made anything more than 2 veins just rare. I just wanted to mention it. It might be easy to find, but it's just so annoying because there's so many spawns. From my knowledge, the wild update is mostly frowned upon because of the lack of content and its dumb mob vote. Again, the community must be actual bots if they're picking the LA over the copper golem. Frog lights look pretty clean, however it's gotta be like the hardest decoration item to get. It's just not worth it. Mangrove forests are a new swamp variation, but we already have one, just put the frogs there. People don't need a boat on a chest. That's not how you say that. People don't exactly need a boat with a chest anytime soon. Just use a nether portal to transport if your new base is that far away. Trails and Tales was made in 2023 to primarily add archaeology into the game. Oh, you haven't tried it yet? I've never seen anyone use a brush. You're most likely going to be coming out of a trail ruins with a wooden hoe. It's on par with the most likely drop you're going to get from that. Bamboo wood is exactly what we needed. More ugly wood. Cherry forests are exactly what we needed. More ugly wood. The hanging signs are pretty expensive. I'd rather just stick mine to a block. All these armor trips are just for collecting, not even any significant game. Some are just too hard to get, and then the others are really ugly.
Yellow helmet and a blue shoe.
Camels are just decoration at this point. Use a horse. Snifflers aren't really useful. At the time this video is being made, we're up to speed. All these updates and there seems to be more bad than good. Is it just opinionated? Crafters are just for lazy people. The breeze won't stop whooshing me. I'm excited to kill them though so I can whoosh other things. Bogged are the other main mobs in the trial chambers, and I just don't stop getting poisoned. It's basically the same problem as the witch. The trial chambers themselves have vaults, but they just hate giving me the heavy cores. For the mace to be useful, you have to crank 90s. There's so many updates and content since the start. Maybe I am opinionated over all these comments, but I also have thousands of hours over the decade I've been playing.
Oh, but if you have thousands of hours in this game, then why do you hate it so much?
Anyways, dislike and comment about what you hated.